Good evening.
I'm so excited tonight. It's always fun. We get to have some amazing conversations. And Caroline, you've done quite a bit, so I'm happy to have you on. I'm happy, Stephen from Nikki referred you over to us, and I'm glad you said yes. So thank you for being here. And Matt, let's ask the question we always
Caroline Cory, welcome. I'm excited.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. This is going to be awesome.
So much fun. I said good evening, and it is here, not quite yet where you're at, but it's getting later on in the day. We love the Thursday night shows, especially for guests like this, because they're just a little bit more end of work day. You know what I mean? Like they don't
Almost
tend to
Friday. Almost.
Yeah, it's almost Friday. Yeah, exactly. So I'm psyched to dig into a couple things with you today, but I think it's probably fair to say that you have an eccentric path, right? We love it, but like, how does one find themselves sort of where you're at? And like I said, there's no path. We're not looking for anything in particular. I'm just kind of curious. You got a very exciting present tense, and I'm sure there's a backstory there.
There's a huge backstory. It's really, everything was very organic. It's like when I was a kid, I was like 5 years old. I had experiences, like I could see the subtle energy. I could look at someone and like I could see what's wrong or if they're struggling with something. I think people call it empath, intuitive, So I was spontaneously doing that. And so I felt that from the very beginning as a child, that there's something else from what we see or what we understand. So I stayed open to that idea, and I would have on and off experiences. And then as I grew up, I was like, wait a minute, like, is everybody doing this? So, is this like a normal thing, or something's wrong with my brain, or, and so when I got to college, I studied psychology, to rule out that there's some sort of
you were having an issue,
like some sort of anomaly going on, And of course, there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, it was good. Like, psychology helps you understand some problems, but it's very intellectual. And I was kind of tapping into energy and frequency, and like I was seeing things and sensing things that were like beyond the intellectual. And of course, they would get validated, like, for example, if I see someone or I'm working with someone, like I would sense things that they didn't tell me before, and then they would validate it. So that's why I was onto something, but what is that something, And I realized it was all consciousness. It's all consciousness. And it has nothing to do with psychology. Like, psychology is just a part of it to understand our emotions, our belief systems. But when you start to look at what consciousness is, like, you're down the rabbit hole, because then it's like the nature of our reality, how we perceive things, how all of consciousness is connected, how telepathy works. It's like it opens up a whole, world. And so I realized that that's what I was really working with. And so, but my brain is like, I'm not a scientist, but I have a scientific mind. Like, I didn't want to just go out and tell people, hey, you're all intuitive, you can all do this. I wanted to know, what is this, and how do you do it on purpose? I want to know, like, the mechanics, So I should I keep going?
Yeah, keep on.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a long story, but so then I sat and I was like, I need to really understand how my brain is getting to do these things spontaneously, so I can teach others or tell others. And so I put myself in this very rigorous training. I would sit for hours and hours and hours to meditating. And I would try, like, there was like transcendental meditation and this kind of meditation. And now there's mindfulness, like there's all these different meditations. And I was like, what's the difference? how does it work? So I would like sit for hours and hours and hours, and I would try different things. I would feel different things. I would experience different things. So that training got me to kind of discern like different state of consciousness. So
in
if I want to just,
or in the world around you, or both, or
both.
right.
And so that training helped me become even more sensitive, but more importantly, more accurate. So then after, of course, you know, like many months of really working on all of this, I came up with methodologies, like which meditation do you do for what? And then how do you discern? How do you know you're seeing or you're sensing the right thing? Like, what if you're making stuff up? What if you're, you know, your subconscious is like projecting things and you think you're right? How do you know you're right? You know, so
this feels like a handbook for the recently deceased and Beetlejuice.
You know, it's so funny because Matt and I, before you got on, Matt literally said to me, "Hey, I think I got to do a second meditation a day." And we both like, track our meditations. We use a Muse headband. And that's been one of my big questions. I do a Taoist meditation. And what am I doing? Just sitting there and being aware. But I don't know, like, you know, I played with the Gateway tapes. You know, I would love to be more psychic if it can be trained. I don't feel like I am. And when you were coming on, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a good one because maybe she'll give us some hints."
Yeah.
Like, so that's how, like, how do you know you're psychic? Like, how do you know you're not making stuff up? So that's why. So doing this training allows you to kind of realize, discern. Okay, that's my subconscious mind saying these things. That's not me.
Did you make like this curriculum for yourself, or did you sort of borrow from other people's? Like, how'd you cobble this thing together?
It's very my own.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure maybe there's a couple of things that may overlap, but
yeah,
I never had a guru. I never went to India. I never studied with anybody.
Right.
So because I realized that nobody really had the full picture. I don't know how to say it, like not so much in terms of meditation, but more like, okay, who we are, like how, like all the way from how do we come about as a human to what's your life purpose, to working with all these tools. So it was a much bigger picture than just, hey, how do you become psychic? Sure. And so, so I wrote.
Well, are you even calling
some
it
easy questions to answer? Yeah.
I mean, but are you even, I mean, it doesn't even seem like you're calling it anything right then. So to call it a psychic, even in a retrospective sense, feels maybe like not what was going on. It feels like
maybe
you're just
an exploration of consciousness.
Yeah. It's like you're trying to find out what's happening, right? Like, or I'm full of shit and totally wrong that you actually did try to think you were a psychic. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really call, I mean, it's what is psychics? It's something you tend to know something without prior knowledge, or you predict things that end up to be true. But so that's kind of part of it. For me, it was like just my consciousness was doing stuff. Like, sometimes like I would just, I don't know, like communicate. I was like, okay, well, what just happened here? Did I make this up? Stuff like that. So because of this, first, now that I ruled out that I wasn't really crazy. So
how'd you do that? I'm asking for a friend.
Totally asking for a friend. I would like to get rid of all these therapists, by the way.
Like, for example, so I would work with someone and sometimes it was a child. It's funny. I had very complicated cases in the very beginning, which is weird. So I would have like an
you became a practicing
who couldn't
therapist.
Communicate, right? Or just any client. And then I would see, for example, an energy next to them. I would see, for example, let's say the person has digestive issues or something, right? And then I see an entity or an energy that is the cause of this problem, right? And so when I talk about it or when I take it out or kind of clear it, the person gets better.
Mm.
So like it's literally one to one. Like, sometimes,
Cause
they
and effect.
yeah. So it's like, like we're working specifically, this person has a cyst, whatever, so we're specifically working on this. Okay, there's an ultrasound before and after, so we can see
the change.
like
Yeah.
the change. So we're not making, so that's how you didn't make this up.
Right.
Yeah. And can I ask a little bit about like seeing this entity? Would it be over the area that the issue was, or was this a certain color? Like, I'm just like,
I was guessing, is this a person,
is it a
place,
color? Is it something
smell?
in the aura?
What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I see the subtle energy, it's first of all, it's based on this method that I created, which is I just take me directly to the root cause of this issue. I don't want to see anything else. I don't want to know their whole life story. I don't want to know, because we're trying to resolve this particular issue. So whatever shows up has to do with the root cause of this issue, right? And so sometimes I see the parent of the person, whether they're alive or deceased, that is the trigger. And so when I focus on the parent, for example, so I see them as a kind of like an aura kind of a thing, but I see the face of the person, and I know it's like the parent. It looks like it's the father or it's the mother or whatever. And so then I also like kind of, it shows me the whole story. Like I kind of like watching a video, or like I see that when this person was 7 years old, the dad was abusing her, or the dad left home, or he was an alcoholic, or, you know what I mean? So I see these things. And so I ask the question, well, tell me what happened when you were 7. Did your dad drink and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, how did you know? Things like that. And then when you release it, when the person understands it and releases it through these different methods, but then the problem goes away. So what do you call that?
Yeah. What do you
is
call
that energy clearing? I mean, that's such a, because a lot of the stuff you're saying, I'm an acupuncturist by trade, and you're talking about root cause, and you're talking about energetic blockages, and that's a language we speak, but I hate to say it, in a very physical way. I need to put needles in, and I need to do a differential diagnosis, and hopefully I'm in the right spot at the right time, and then you get something like that. And certainly there's been weird things that have happened in the treatment, but I feel like I'm blissfully going along without that knowledge. Yeah, it's like I'm going through what I was taught, but I don't see or hear things or experience it. And it's really interesting to have that insight, because this is why people do past life regression. This is why people do hypnosis and those kind of things as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you're intuitively guided, plus with your training, to know where to put the needle and what meridian it's opening. So I don't have that training. I can't tell you, like, I don't know according to the training. But I can tell you, like, if I'm working with the same person, let's say, I'm going to say, even though this person thinks they have a digestive issue, but I think it's the heart. Because I can see the root cause, which you can relate to, right? Sometimes we think it's one thing, or referred pain or something, but it's something else. So I would tell you, can you work with the meridian of the heart? Because you know what I'm saying? So I see the subtle energy, and I see the story kind of, which is not so common, I have to say. That's why I thought I was crazy, but but it's very helpful.
Actually, that sounds like such a cool superpower, doesn't it? I mean, it's like,
so when you meet people, can you suss them out pretty quick and go like, this person is like full of it, or here's what their issues are, I don't want to talk to them?
I mean, I'm not constant, because it's it's kind of like an X-ray vision. Like, so you're kind of like looking at both at the same time. So it's a lot of kind of. So I'm more in the moment, but I'm so used to like sensing the other stuff that, yeah, as the person says something, I can sense, okay, well, that wasn't totally true, but I don't like analyze their whole thing and like,
otherwise you go crazy.
No,
That'd
it's
be
crazy.
exhausting,
It's crazy. And it's not, you're not living your life. I mean, you just have to be in the moment and honor whatever exchange it is, and just
you would probably literally go crazy if you
exactly.
Right, you'd be like, what the fuck, everybody's nuts.
Exactly. If I wasn't,
right.
And it's a lot of information. Another thing also that I teach is not just to discern, but there's so much about the person, like how to narrow it down, like I said, to the root cause. What's relevant today for this person to help this person?
You know what? I'm actually going to shift gears slightly to the less physical and a little bit more esoteric, because you said a couple things that I have in the last year or so kind of taken differently seriously in conversations. Like, full disclosure, 2 years ago, pretty much everything I'm probably about to say, I would have been like, that guy's a fucking wacko. Right? But now, I'm kind of like, okay, so we've talked about this a lot, like this concept of soul families and this idea of sort of consciousness. I mean, it's a very Silicon Valley chic word right now, consciousness, right? Like, it
it's so weird, right?
You know what I mean?
Nerdy
like,
techie people are like all into consciousness.
You've got words, vocabulary like vibrations, and you've got vocabulary like energy and energy healing and energy movement, and you know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of.
My chat GPT uses the term vibes all the time. Yeah, and I'm like, where the hell did you pick that up from? Was that from me?
So I guess more broadly, like how I mean, I think it's a short bridge, which is why I think I'm into it, between your discovery story that you just told, like, hey, am I crazy? And just try this and try that, to sort of being like open to all of it, right? Like, so I think that's a real short bridge, right? But once you get there, like, I'm just, this is such a fascinating world. I mean, maybe just reflect on that a little bit. I don't really have a specific question on this. It's more of a general neighborhood.
Yeah. And it's almost like once you go to the other side, you know what I mean? And then you're like, wait, this worked, like I knew exactly blah, blah, blah. And this happened again. And I helped this person. That, to me, that's the motivator. Like, it's like, oh my God, this person no longer has pain, or doesn't have this phobia, or stopped drinking, or whatever. So when you start working like this, you don't want to stop. You're like, what else is there? And so you continue to grow with your craft, and then you realize, for example, speaking of past lives, like, if you sometimes the first time I would go, for me is show me the root cause, right, of this person, this problem right now. And then I would go back, and then usually it stops in the childhood, but then sometimes it keeps going back and back and back. And I'm like, what? Okay, now I'm seeing the person on another planet. The first time it was like, okay, come on, really?
Yeah, you're like, there's a little too much mushrooms in my Cheerios.
That was a bigger dose than I thought.
So and I like to be skeptical, believe it or not, even though I have so much experience and I've done so much with so much validation, but I like to question everything, because that way you keep yourself in check. You can't just like assume. Now, of course, certain things, you've done it so many times, you're like, this is it. But when it's the first time you see something, you have to stop and say, okay, whoa, what just happened? How do I know? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So then it keeps expanding and expanding from there.
Yeah, we have a very human or earthbound Homo sapien view of past lives, don't we? Like, it's real locked into like, oh, it must have been somewhere on this planet. Candidly, it never occurred to me to think like if we are universal.
And everyone's either Jesus or Napoleon Bonaparte. You're definitely Joan of Arc. Yeah, you and 5 million other people, but like. It's so interesting that like, because like when you're talking, I'm hearing some stuff from like Edgar Casey, right? He go into these trances and start talking about Atlantis, and you're like, does that, like, how, you know, and that skeptical part of me is very much like, find it. Somebody show me where it is, you know, and point to it, and I don't know, pull up a relic from there. But like, on the other hand, there's so many weird anomalies and things that you're like, we don't know how to explain it. And if you've got a working system, God, I'm swinging into the new agey side of me now, because I'm also super scientific. Like, there's no double-blind placebo-controlled studies on this. Is all BS. There's no God. You know, like that.
We found Atlantis, dude. It's under Antarctica. Remember, we've already.
It is. Believe me, I'm watching I'm watching some episodes on that right now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's so amazing. So when you see these past lives or other planets or things, one, is that person in front of you, is it the same face? Is it like, because I'm assuming if we reincarnate, we're not always like a bald-headed bearded guy, you know? It's like you know.
Yeah, but I just want to say something about the past life. Do you know the book Many Lives, Many Masters?
Yes.
Right. So that was a huge thing. He was a normal psychologist, and all of a sudden his patients started to talk about, I see myself as a soldier in the Civil War or whatever, then I get killed. And so there's a lot of evidence that came out through evidence, you know, consistent things from different people who don't know each other. Same with John Mack. Do you know John Mack of Harvard? He was a very famous psychiatrist. And the first case that came to him was a client under hypnosis all of a sudden talking about a UFO abduction. I was abducted by it. So he's like Harvard, you know, like super sciencey psychiatrist, super credible. And all of a sudden, all of these patients, I guess, who don't know each other, different ages, different cultures, different backgrounds, talking about being abducted. Like, what is that about? And so that's why after a while, you can't prove it, but what you can do, sometimes you can. So, because sometimes, like, you go back to like 1786 or whatever. I used to live on that street in that whatever, like, and then
this was my name, and
you can research and go, oh, there was a person or what have you. So and
the level of bullshittery that you'd have to go through to lay up that lie would be difficult.
Here's another great book, Old Souls, and it was I think he's a University of Kentucky professor. 11,000 cases of kids under the age of 5, Caroline, or something like that. That would be like, nope, here's my name here. Like, there was a kid in India that started walking. He's like, no, I live over here. And then they went to the village, and he's like, that was my wife. This is how I died. Hey, look at this mark on my head. That's where I hit the tree, you know? And it's insane. It's unbelievable.
So some of it is trackable, you know, like you were saying, you can find, but sometimes, like for me, at the end of the day, is what is the result, the effect it's going to have on the person. So like, okay, so if you were like, let's say you have a phobia of feeling like you were, I don't know, buried alive or something, like claustrophobia or something, whatever. Let's say you're claustrophobic. And then for some reason, we go back to this past life where, I don't know, in some weird society, you end up being imprisoned, you know, in some small cell for the rest of your life, or you're buried alive, or something where you had this claustrophobia, whatever, start. So if you clear that in that life and the person heals overnight, I'm telling, instantaneously, no more claustrophobia.
That's wild.
Is that evidence? I mean, I can't prove that he was buried alive in 1756.
Sure.
But if that, you know what I mean?
Even if you're just going off outcome based and you call it all placebo, all in this person's head, who cares? They feel better. Yeah.
Exactly. And then why is his consciousness or his story taking me to that place? Like, why not something else? So at one point you have to just go with it, and then whether it's evidence, there's evidence. Sometimes you must have evidence. Like if somebody's out there, lying their way, teaching something, or, that's not cool. But we're talking, if you're trying to help someone, if the result is their life gets better, they get over addictions, phobias overnight. Why not? You know
what? It's always. I'm curious if there's a explanation on this one. Like we think of energy and souls as if you say souls or energy, and the word consciousness is energy, whatever, right? That energy, we anthropomorphize to our human forms, yada yada. But here's the thing: 1 billion years ago, this Earth was here, this universe was here. Like, what was my energy doing 1 billion years ago? You know what I mean? Like, was I a plant, a rock, a piece of, protozoa?
Or were you on a different planet?
Or was I on a different planet? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like one of those things where you're kind of like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean in a time sense, right? Like,
oh my God, it's a great question. But I can tell you, Matt, you're definitely an alien.
Yeah.
He's been told that too, but don't.
Not the first time.
We gotta watch that term now with ice everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get political there.
Not our focus right now. Yeah. No, but it's a great question. There is something about, and I'm sure you've heard before, the purpose of being here, especially like, I don't know, like in ancient teachings and current teaching, is to really understand who you are. Okay. So you're in this lifetime, you're a Matt, you chose to be a man and whatever, born in this location with these parents. And a lot of the times we wonder why we pick these parents, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But it's so whatever that packaging is not all that you are. And so as you discover more, for example, a past life or something else happens, and you discover more of who you are. So even in 1756, let's say this happened to you, what have you, there's something that happens in you, like it's your cellular memory that is able to track all of these aspects of your being. So when you touch on those things, you feel different. Like it's not something intellectual. It's on a cellular level. You feel more bigger, like more awakened, more conscious, more understanding that you are a very, very, you're a larger consciousness than just this little guy, So I don't mean to say you're a little guy, but you know what I mean?
I'm not that big. I'm just about below average.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, and so many people, I mean, it's such a typical thing. People walking around with all these blocks. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough.
Right.
I feel abandoned, boohoo. I'm a victim, victim. So when you have these experiences, you realize you're so much more, that you let go. You start to let go of this smaller things that you thought were big problems. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why having that's the work that I do. It's like awakening your consciousness to the bigger you, the universal you, I call it. That's what's going to help you expand your human experience and resolve your human experience.
Right.
A lot of it starts to be like, you know what I mean? You're so stuck on, okay, people don't have abundance. They're in the wrong relationships. They don't have money, whatever. And then you have these experiences and you just like kind of relax, it's like, and it helps you a lot. So that's kind of the journey, is to really understand who you really are.
Yeah. It's funny because I had that, I think this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I think really my journey towards discovering other things started with the Matrix, blue pill, red pill.
I feel like that one broke a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was so, but here's the thing. Cinematically, let's be honest here for a second. That was a fucking great movie. Like one of the best
fight scenes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, like we could talk about that some other day, but fucking great movie. However,
they invented bullet time.
That is the only movie that I could recall ever where I felt as though it opened a door to the reality I could not put a word to for the entire part of my life up to that moment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mine was the book Celestine Prophecy.
That was also in there. Yeah. That book was crazy. They saw auras in that book too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember staring at trees going, do I see anything yet?
And I said, no, I do not. And I was super pissed because I'm like, fuck, I want this
upset.
tree to be like orange or something.
I want this to happen to me.
Yeah. Didn't happen. Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like a defining moment. This happened, and I'm like, but here's what I think is great about what you did. You actually said, "Oh, that was interesting. Let's try it again."
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw it, and I was like, "Well, that was fucking weird." But and then I've spent 20 years talking about weird shit like this, but I have not made any roads to practice it or be more sensitive to it.
Yeah, and it's like, and how can I do it again?
Yeah.
And how can I do it on purpose? Like instead of just like all of a sudden, what's up with that?
Yeah.
So I was basically trying to understand the mechanics of of my consciousness, and that kept asking each question pushed me to the next level and the next level and the next level. So, it's to me, that's fascinating. But I think that it goes back to the reason why I was curious that way. And because I want to know how things work, it's like, and I want scientific validation, as you saw in my movies, like I want something to prove to people that this does happen, can happen. And
that's a little problematic because it's not just blue or red pill. If you go down one of the rabbit holes, there's right around the corner another blue-red inflection moment where you're like, okay, now that we're here, now which one do you want to go? And then it just keeps going. So you're just basically never ending, like going to the next level.
Exactly. And also speaking of science, you're trying to resolve non-visible, non-physical things with physical rules, with physical laws, and it doesn't work because it's, you can prove or demonstrate the effect of your consciousnno on, like how my mind can change the pH of water, or my mind can do, but I can't measure my mind. There's no instrument. As soon as you say instrument, it's on this side of the veil. It's physical, So that's why it's very complex. It's like you're expanding the Newtonian science to a whole new level, and you can keep going exponentially, like you were saying. But I think like you were saying, for you dismissed it like, okay, that was some weird shit, what's it? Just move on. But for me, I think I kept asking and going deeper because it has to do with my work. You know what I mean? I kept feeling like, okay, why am I getting there? Like, what's the point? Like, what's so special? Can anybody do this? Why? I need to teach this. I want to help people. It was part of that inner calling, so to speak.
So is it like, I hate to reduce it to something physical after we're talking about a non-physical thing, but is it like that kid that like, hey, I can run really fast. I run faster than other kids, and they lean into that. And then they become, like they're star of their school, and then they go to college, and then now they're in the Olympics. Is it the same thing, but in this arena of consciousness? Was there kind of like this, I guess, aptitude is the word I would use for it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's aptitude, because I think everybody's equipped to do that. But it's exactly that, in a sense of you feel like this urge to know more, to do better in this field. That's exactly it. And so, for example, right now I'm filming Superhuman 2.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah. And part of the film is talking to individuals and children, like savants or excuse me, or individuals who have achieved extraordinary things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you see this 3-year-old, you know, they start 3-year-old like playing like Mozart, Chopin, like it's insane.
Yeah.
You're like, they know coming in, that's who they are. That's what they're going to do.
Sure.
You know?
That's wild. Yeah. So how cool have these movies been for you? You must love doing this. I mean, it brings you front row center.
Well, yeah, because you're going deeper down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
I'm sure, every time you have a conversation with somebody about it.
Absolutely. And so I had the idea of making film, even though I studied film like in college and stuff, but I didn't do anything with it. I started thinking I have to make movies when I worked with scientists. So I worked with like hardcore scientists, but they were open to these sorts of things, obviously. So we would do experiments. And I remember the very first experiment I did was with Glenn Ryan. I think that was the first one. But anyway, and he's a oh my God, microbiologist or one of those, you know. And so he worked with DNA samples and he said, well, just focus on the DNA sample and see if you can increase the conductivity and the electrical conductivity, you know. And so, and of course we have machines and we have, you know, and so in science, as you know, when we do an experiment, you do baselines and you measure, okay, it's stable this way, blah, blah, blah. It's doing exactly this for a long period of time. And then I look at the thing and I'm thinking increase electrical whatever that is. I don't even know what it means. You know, I'm just like, that's the purpose. Increase the electrical conductivity of this thing. And the thing shoots up 400%. Like instantaneously. So he was like, whoa, what just happened here? Okay, can you do it again? Can you do it again? Can we do it again? So we would have like all these crazy, and then does it go back to baseline? And, you know, so we would do like different controls and then we had all these amazing results that showed that there is a connection between mind and matter. We don't know how. We don't know why, but we know that when you do it this way, it works. It has a measurable, significant effect. So then we're like, oh, well, if it happens with DNA, can we do it with water? Can I change the pH in water just by focusing? Then can I look at an electronic device and just mess with it? Can I blah, so on and so forth. So we started doing all kinds of experiments in laboratories. And I did long distance stuff, you know, like remote viewing things. It's remote influencing because it's remotely, but you are making something happen somewhere else. And so the results were astounding. Like one of the scientists, he even wrote a paper. And so I was like, this is crazy. People need to know these things. And I'm sure there's a, you know, like an experiment here and there, you know, but nobody like in the mainstream, nobody's paying attention. Nobody's connecting the dots. And so people just telling us, oh, raise your vibration or like, you know, or positive thoughts have positive effect. What does that mean? Positive thoughts have positive effect. Like I want like cause and effect kind of thing. You know, that's why I did these experiments. And so then I did Superhuman. I had done other films before, but then that's where Superhuman came about. And it was a huge success because all the, like the woo-woo people, let's say, or the new age thing had some sort of validation. It was like scientifically based. All of these concepts of raising vibration, positive thinking, all of that stuff. And then the mainstream started to go, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I remember I would have a lot of people emailing me. It was very interesting. A lot of people would find me on LinkedIn, of all places. And then they would be like, well, I'm a 40-year-old man and I didn't believe in this, but when I saw your movie, it reminded me when I was a kid, I used to do this or whatever. And these were like, guess what? Lawyers, mayors
That's
mayors
funny.
of towns. like people that you would never, judges. I had a judge, believe it. I had like like a whole range of very, very mainstream people who would like email and say, I didn't believe in this, but something with your film made it click that there is something else.
Wow.
So yeah, that did it for me. I was
that
like,
must have been wild.
thank you.
I mean, yeah. So that's interesting. So like, what did you ever sort of explore these stories with these people? I mean, it seems like more than a couple. So you know, like, is this just like field of dreams from a research standpoint for you? You know, like you got people
all coming out of the
cornfield, you know, just coming to you.
What do you mean? Which people?
There was a movie, Field of Dreams, where you basically they built this baseball diamond.
Build it, they will come is what the rule says. So like he builds this field, and all of a sudden, all these players come out to play baseball. It's so interesting that I wonder. Do you think it's a society thing then, that like at some point they were told that, hey, quit messing around or stop talking like that, you're gonna look weird? Is it they were tamped down in them and then they just forget it?
Of course. Like I mean, a typical thing in most cultures, you know, like if you're a little boy and you see things or you experience things or just normal behavior, like normal emotions, like you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to be angry, you're supposed to behave, you're going to grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer or, you know, whatever, make money, buy a house, a dog, and get married. I mean, that's kind of the trajectory. Anything beyond that, it's like, what? My son is like seeing angels, talking to angels. No. That can't be true, you know? My little girl is telepathic. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So we're programmed, we're programmed to behave according to certain rules. I mean, of course, now we're at a different time, you know, where we're changing sex at the age of 4, and I mean that's a whole, let's not get political, but I'm just saying, though, that's the way it has been for the longest time. You're not allowed to speak to have invisible friends. You're not allowed to, and so even though it's very real to you, and you're exploring consciousness, then you shut it down. You just
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot to be said about that. You know, you hear people talking about like, you know, the imaginary friend as a kid, you know, and it's like, well, maybe they weren't imaginary, but like once you turned off the switch, it's off.
It's
like,
off.
Yeah, you know, and you can't unless you sit there and meditate for hours at a time, you know, and like really dig in. Like I think unfortunately most people sort of you know, move past that, I guess, shove it down deep. I don't know. You know, but
exactly.
Yeah,
and then sometimes I work with these individuals, most of the time actually, and then we kind of go back to the root cause, for example, and I always see that when they were a child, they did have those experiences.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it scared them. Either it scared them, even though it was positive, but it was like too much. Or, you know, the parents were like, what? Stop. No.
Right.
Yeah. You're daydreaming. You're making stuff up.
So let me ask kind of
a weird conversation to have on a full moon, man.
Is it a full moon today?
I was like Googling it off on the side. I'm like, the energy's been weird all day, man.
So that's super strange.
Perfect, Tom.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So Caroline, in your sort of observation, people that sort of have varying degrees of these sensitivities, you know, now I'm talking about telekinesis and stuff, you know, like, you know, stuff that's sort of an evolution or maybe a refinement. I mean, what do you sort of chalk that up to? Is it just a deeper awareness or a connection to that? Is it a separate skill set altogether? Like, are they connected? I'm just curious if you had anything on that.
I think everybody comes in exactly the same, equipped to see subtle energy, to understand, you know, like beyond the physical, you know, everybody comes the same way. But I think, like I said, like for me as a child, I felt this kind of urge to follow, like, what just happened? Tell me more, that sort of thing. And a lot of people don't. So that's the reason why they kind of give it up. And so it doesn't mean that I am more skilled. It just means, or I'm more, now I am, because I've trained
for sure.
Yeah. But I didn't come in like the super gifted. You know what I mean? Okay. The reason why it may sound this way or look this way is because that was my path. Like, you know what I mean? Like the pianist, who come in at the age of 3 and start playing Chopin, and knows he's going to be a concert pianist at the age of 3. So it's kind of like that. I had that urge to keep going at it, but it doesn't make me more skilled.
Got it.
So that's the reason why anybody can develop these skills. The only difference is that the later you wait, like the longer you wait, the more you have to undo. Like, if you were told your whole life that you will never be this, you'll never do that, this is only for the gifted, only psychics, you're not psychic. You have to kind of like reverse all of this belief system in order to let things come in again,
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, like a deprogramming.
Yeah, deprogramming. Yeah, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about the new the Superhuman too. But what do you think you're going to sort of? What's the differentiator between like the follow up than from the first one? Like, are you just have so much more evolution of the thought on it? Is it different topics? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the first one was, I did multiple different experiments. For example, remote viewing, telekinesis, psychokinesis, also demonstrating how your voice has a certain frequency.
We had a voice guy on the podcast.
We had a guy that uses AI to detect energetic imbalances, and I actually just talked to him again the other day, and he's like, look, we have 25 voice markers that'll tell if somebody's going to commit self-harm or suicide, or it's insane.
And
when he gets into it.
Scary fucking accurate.
Scary accurate.
Exactly. So how is that possible that your voice has,
I keep asking myself that same question.
That's what I'm saying. So I did that in the movie, in the first Superhuman. Same thing with we showed kids and adults as well who were completely blindfolded, who could read, who could, play ping pong, ride the bike, completely blindfolded. So again, to show that your consciousness is more than your brain, more than your body, and you could do all these things. So it was kind of more of a general way to introduce that idea, bringing different aspects of science. In Superhuman 2, I'm featuring different individuals, children and adults, who have exceptional skills in different areas. And so that's going to be interesting also. It's again, just more to say that, bring more validation that we are all superhuman, it's pretty incredible. I keep going back to that example. When you see a 3-year-old play the piano, like literally,
like they've been doing it for lifetimes.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's weird because, you're like,
that puts it bluntly, kindly.
It's like weird. So that's why you're like, this is an extraordinary skill. Now, does it come from a past life? That's a different conversation. So
But is it though? Hold on. I don't want to gloss by that. Is it a different conversation? Because how else does it?
Yeah. Where does that come from?
I played piano for like 10 years. Right. And I'll tell you, I think it's like a pretty logical instrument compared to other instruments, to be honest. But I
think I can pluck out chopsticks right
there's
now.
Like,
that's about all I got.
There's shit going on with a piano, right? Like, and a lot of that takes rote memorization and really feeling the piano. And like a 3-year-old doesn't have the physical amount of time.
They
on the
can't
planet.
Have put in 10,000 hours to be.
They haven't been alive for 10,000 hours. Yeah.
And you should see how they play with like how the hands,
somebody you would see at a symphony hall. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they move their body and they feel it. Yeah.
And it's just not normal. I'm sorry.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like that music is moving through them, not because of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To me that, so we can't always talk about this especially with the parents,
sure,
but to me, like, I totally see it in another energy. Like it could be their own higher being coming through.
Yeah. Or something. Oh, that's interesting. So you can see that there. Oh, that makes sense.
Or like a second, or you're saying a second being.
Yeah. And don't forget, some of them do it by ear. They don't even learn the music. So I have a kid who converts color into sound. I mean, it's like, come on, cool. Like autistic kids who could do stuff. So I'm featuring like those types of different, to make it more real. Like these are humans, they're living here right now, and look at what we're capable of. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, talk about this kind of weird, like this kind of convergence, because the telepathy tapes have dropped, and all of these things seem to be pointing towards, psychedelics becoming so mainstream. All of it is pointing at this kind of consciousness conversation that like you couldn't have before. Right? Exactly. You would your Harvard doctor is going to get his ass thrown out of Ivy League if he has that. Now it's like, hey guys, we found this weird stuff and we don't know where to put it yet, but it's happening.
Yeah, Caroline, if you were in 5th grade right now, you'd be like a whole different situation than you were in.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. It's more, they don't know how to explain it, but they're open to it.
Sure.
So I have that going on in Superhuman too. But I also then I start talking about, okay, so because it's all energy, it's all frequency and blah, blah, blah. And so if we are all energy, then we should also be taking care of our body and healing our body with energy. I mean, that's technically how we're supposed to, instead of swallowing a pill for every little thing. I mean, that has its place, but I'm saying in general, you have the ability to self-maintain, self-repair. And then I talk about then frequency-based technologies to help sustain our body, like the watch, so I have my own Superhuman Watch. Do you guys know this?
I did not, but I love that you're wearing 2 Nikki watches. Now, I wear mine every night now.
I think Stephen had 5 on his arm.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to do the technology where you can do simultaneous, because I have 2 simultaneous programs. But so I have a white label. So I did a white label with.
I did not know that.
Well, now we got to call Stephen and get that frequency at the very least.
Yeah, it's called Superhuman. It's the Superhuman frequencies.
So what was your focus on that one?
So it's not just one; it's a series of 10.
Oh,
and so so what happened was, since we were talking about frequency, so a friend of mine introduced me to Nikki, to the company, and because I do, guided meditations and remote healing and things like that. I was like, wait, so when people feel all that stuff, they feel lighter and clearer or whatever, it means that it's the frequency, whether it's my voice or my energy, that they are receiving through the iPhone or whatever, right? The computer or whatever. So what if they could receive it, but through light? So I sent them one meditation, like my main meditation. I sent it to Stephen, actually. I said, can you tell me, like, can you measure it? Can you take out the frequency and put it in a watch? So they did that as a test. And he said, I think he has ADHD or something, one of those.
Yeah.
One of those.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. And he said, Caroline, I put your program on, and it was the first time that I could just focus on something and my brain was not going all over the place.
That's wild. So I had no idea, honestly, and I'm a little bummed because this was such an obvious miss.
Now, like, you're going to have to drop so many websites for us at the end of this, because we want to know everything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so then because it worked on him, then I sent them 3 more, and they did some testing on other people. And they improved by, I mean, it was pretty like 120%, like pretty significant. So they were very interested. So they said, can you, so I did like a whole series. And I have actually 3 series. And now I'm working on a weight loss and anti-aging.
Cool.
And yeah, and people are loving it. People are, it's just like you just wear it. And so the energy, the frequency is using red light to just go into your being, and it just kind of replenishes.
We had a real nerdy conversation with Steven. It was great.
We did, yeah.
It was awesome. I'm so fascinated by the idea of this product. I told Tom, my sleep scores responded interestingly. My range markers on all of my sleep, like REM, light, and deep, if I don't have Nikki on, and I was doing an every other night thing for a while, if I don't have Nikki on, it's like at the either below the bottom reference or just into bottom reference. Put Nikki on top of reference or just past it. So basically flipped it where I was like just reference adjacent, and then I'm like, okay, I blew through it, right? And it's consistent to your point about like, I can't explain what's happening, but I can explain the outcome, right? Like,
exactly. And their sleep program knocks me out.
See, and that's the one I haven't tried. I was having horrible allergies. I tried that, and I'm like, it's also weird with this energy medicine, right? It's sometimes very subtle. And you're like, I think I feel better,
right?
And that's what you get at first. And I definitely started to go, you know what, I haven't been, I'm clearer. Something has to be happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the stuff that you don't do anymore. That's, because you're not really paying attention. Yeah. It's quite subtle. And some things are more drastic, like the sleep. It just knocks you out. I mean, it works so then I did 3 sets, and it's called the Superhuman Watch.
I love it.
Using the Nikki.
All right, well, where do we get that then?
Superhumanwatch.com.
Well, make it easier than that.
Yeah. No, and you know what? It's funny because, and I'm no surprise that you guys know each other, but what this watch also kind of makes me firmly believe again, and I tell to other people, I said, look, here's a watch that's fundamentally dealing in energy. Right? Like fundamentally, like that's the only thing this thing is doing, right? It's dealing in an energy in a frequency delivered on the back of a light spectrum, right? And it has measurable results. I said, if that isn't proof positive that we are just energy, then I'm not sure how much more proof you need, dude. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, it's like kind of like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a doorway into like, okay, there's something more going on here. Right.
Exactly. And that's kind of going back to Superhuman too. That was the idea of the film, and featuring these types of frequency-based devices and technology. And so it's fascinating. And I'm the first one who tells people like, use natural stuff, use your consciousness, but not everybody can sit and do a meditation and do a clearing all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
and even if I could, Caroline, there's no fucking way I'd sit there and I'm just going to be honest with you. There's
you need a little assistance. You need sometimes a little thing. So that's why I love this product. Superhumanwatch.com.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And their program too, the Nikki programs as well. And then and there are a few other technologies also that are part of the movie. So basically, we're all energy. We have to work with energy. Energy comes through us to, expand our consciousness and to do extraordinary things. And we become.
So when does Superhuman come out? To Superhuman 2, sorry.
I'm trying to finish it by the end of this year, if not early next year.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I am looking forward to that, because I tell you, this is just
endlessly fascinating. I would listen to you all night.
Yeah, and unfortunately, unfortunately, like somebody has to be the adult here and say, "Okay, we have to stop."
I was like, at 45 minutes, I'm like, Jesus, we just started.
Yeah, I swear, yeah. But I mean, listen, I'm super excited that there's people like you doing it, because you know what? Even guys like us who have the opportunity to have conversations like this, right, with people like you, which is absolutely atypical, right? Not everybody walking around gets to do this. And like, to your point, this is my version of meditating all day, right? Doing the show.
You know, and honestly, when Steven asked, like, oh, you know, he said, hey, do you want Caroline on? And I Googled you. I'm like, I got a subscription to Gaia last week, and this was one of the suggestions. That's crazy. Yes, we want to talk to her.
And tell me that's not energy speaking through,
right?
You know what I mean?
Like, that was like yeah.
You know, but yeah, and so I think even for guys like us, Caroline, having conversations like this puts me on my heels, because you're like, damn it. Like, why am I not thinking about this more? Because it really does. When we started having this conversation, Tom, you and I with Brian back in the day, like all of a sudden, every conversation I saw on TikTok was meaningless, because I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, none of this is all
none of this is
this is ridiculous.
But I felt that way when I found the Gateway tapes. I'm scrolling through TikTok, and there's some woman that's like, oh my God, have you heard about this? And I was like, no, but I put down TikTok, I found those damn tapes, you know, and it was those kind of things, really. And talking to Caroline, you know, like the vibe, to use that term, Caroline, I was having a crap day. Oh. And then you came on, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, I love her.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, love her.
That's it's called entrainment.
Oh yeah,
that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's
it's
fun.
You're entrained to my voice. No, but I mean, we're talking. It's all frequency.
Yeah.
I emit that frequency. You feel it. You like it. You emit it back to me, and it just feels amazing. And that's how it works. You know, that's how you shift from being depressed to being this. You know, but there's a full moon today, so
there is, and I didn't know that going into this. But how cool is it that we like? I mean, that's like it's almost like we scripted that, Caroline. I mean, it's like, wow,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know it when we booked it, which was even more serendipitous.
Yeah, a little bit more. So, Caroline, let's get to the fun part where we tell people all the stuff you want to tell people about, where to find you. And
so
all
we got superhumanwatch.com, but where else can we?
Let's
find
what
you
like
and
me to
everything you're doing?
Yeah, so Superhuman, everybody should watch that film, right, Tom? I mean, it's crazy. So that's superhumanfilm.com. My work on consciousness meditation is carolinecory.com, and it's linecory.com.
Yeah, the AI will pick up all that stuff and Google it, make sure it's right, and like put it in the translate. Yeah. And we have an army of AI working for us.
Yeah, exactly. And the watch, again, is superhumanwatch.com. And my movies are all on omniummedia.com.
Cool. God, I'd have a complete separate conversation with you about how you became like a producer, but like maybe you'll come back for us
next time when the movie's out.
That sounds amazing. We'd love that.
Yeah,
great.
Careful what you offer there.
We will hit you up when I see that available. Right. I'm calling you.
Well, Caroline, it was amazing talking to you. I definitely feel more energetic for sure. I agree with Tom. I'll echo that as well. So it's awesome. But
awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Awesome.
Oh,
well, guys, enjoy the weekend, and see you next time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.